Hello, welcome to Shad Life. Remember this bad boy? Yeah, well, it hasn't been that long, but been a while since I've done an update on this. I have everything completed. I have the 120 millimeter fork on here. Um, I cut the steer, got everything all set up. The only thing I have left to do, which I mean, as far as feel goes, they feel exactly the same. But as far as looks goes, I still have the SLX brake lever on the front and the XT lever here. I do have an XT lever I'm going to put on that side. But I mean, that's so minor compared to all the other stuff going on here. I'm not going to worry about it right now. I will put it on there when I have time to do it. But what I want to do now is I have this device right here, and what this is a digital angle gauge. And so what I want to do is find out what angles I have on here for head tube angle and seat tube angle with the 29er tire on there, or wheel. And then I want to put, I'll take the 27.5 wheel off of my rustler here and put it on there, and then measure everything and see what the difference is. So that should be pretty cool. Okay, so here we go. Hopefully you can read the numbers like I can. They are lit up, so you should be able to. Get this on there flat. Okay, make sure it's flat. Okay, 64. Let me make sure that's accurate. Get in the groove. It looks like 64 exactly. And there's probably like a 0.1 or 0.2 degree correction or whatever that could be done, because this is pretty level. I did measure the levelness. I put like a hockey stick that I knew was straight. It was a carbon one, and put it across here and measured, and it was really close to zero. It was like 0.1 degree. So I know this is pretty level. So this is close. So 64. Yep. So yep. 64 exactly, and that's with the 29er wheel. So it'll be interesting to see what the head angle becomes when we put the 27.5 wheel in there. Now this will stick actually, because this is steel. So 70.2. Cool. Seat tube angle, so that's also a little slack. More laid back. So with the 29er wheel, so it's in mullet mode, so 27.5 rear, 29 front, it does slacken the bike a bit, but not like extreme slack, not like a 73 or something like that. It actually, with the 140 millimeter travel fork on here, it actually was like 72.5 degree head angle. That's like way too slack. So this will definitely feel pretty slack, but it'll be really interesting to ride it in this configuration and see what I think. And yeah, I'm pretty stoked to get this out and ride it. All right, so let's put the 27 wheel on there and compare the differences and see how much does putting, matching wheel sets basically, and putting the bike into its correct configuration for its geometry and see how accurate it is. Okay, so now we have a 27.5 front and rear. They're both 2.6 tires. I do know that the Maxxis Recon isn't quite as big as the Mazda or the Butcher, which are the two front tires I'm swapping between. So there's going to be small discrepancies, but I mean, this is what I'm going to ride. So these are the degrees that I will have for head angle and stuff. So it is what it is. All right, so let's go ahead and measure the head angle and see what we get. I'm very curious. I am actually a little surprised by that. Huh, interesting. So almost 65. I just want to make sure I got the tool on there. So it didn't make as much of a difference as I thought it would. And technically, this bike's supposed to be closer to 66 degrees, but we have different varying factors going on here. I should actually take my Hayduke down with the bomber fork, because axle to crowns are not always going to be exactly the same, especially when you go from manufacturer to manufacturer. And this is 120 millimeter 29er fork, because that's the only way I could do this experiment, because a 27.5 fork, I wouldn't be able to fit a 29er wheel in there. So what you do, because a 29er fork and a 27.5 fork, you roughly have about a 20 millimeter difference in axle to crown if you leave the travel the same. So that's why 140 millimeter, which is what is on that bike, that's a 27.5 fork, and this is a 29 fork at 120 millimeter. So I don't know, it gets all kind of confusing, but I'm actually surprised that it's this slack. I thought it was going to be closer to 65 and a half or something. So wow, interesting. Keep in mind that's without sag. Once there's some sag and I'm on the bike, it's going to be a little steeper. And I do wonder if the small amount of bigger tire in the front versus a smaller, I mean, they're both 2.6 tires, but I do know that this is wider and bigger diameter than the Recon, maybe because the Recon's got, in the light, like less height on the tread or something. I don't know, but yeah, interesting. So this makes me curious, because I'm going to pull my titanium Esker Hayduke down and measure the geometry, just because I expected that to be a little steeper and it's not. So I want to see what my titanium one is at. Okay, so I have my titanium one there. I want to measure this one to compare it and see if it's any different. And so keep in mind, this bike has a 27.5 front and rear wheel. Again, it does have the Recon on the back and a specialized Butcher on the front. I love this Butcher. This tire combo is so good. The Butcher is slightly beefier though, even though they're both 27.5 by 2.6. Not all manufacturers are exact, but the Recon is just a tiny bit mellower than this. Mellower, smaller diameter. So, but I mean, it's very subtle. So let's measure this and see where we're at. Wow, look at that. Let's just say 65. Yeah, I'm actually surprised. I thought this would be steeper than that. I really like how this bike rides. So the other Esker in the 27.5 front wheel configuration is going to ride identically to this. Pretty much. I mean, I can't see why it wouldn't. Aside from a few things that I have different, I do have a taller rise bar on it. I have a 35 millimeter rise bar. I don't even know what this stock Esker bar rise is, but I like how this bike rides a lot. So it'll be interesting to go and try mullet on these two bikes. I can't do mullet on this one because this is a 27.5 fork and there isn't enough clearance for a 29er wheel to go in there. I tried. Doesn't fit. So I'll have to swap forks or something if I want to try this one in mullet build. Okay, so that was a little bit of a surprise. I guess I was expecting it to not be as slack as it is, so it'll be very interesting. So I put the 29-inch wheel back on the front. I mean, the intention of this bike is to try mullet and see if I like it. And so it'll be kind of cool to try that. And obviously putting a bigger wheel on the front is going to raise the front end, which is going to just automatically slacken everything a little bit. About a degree, maybe 0.9 degree difference, 0.8, 0.9, somewhere in there. So just shy of a degree difference when you go from a 27.5 wheel to a 29-inch wheel. So yeah, kind of cool. Another thing that I can also do, and I'm gonna definitely try this come summer, is I actually have the 140 millimeter travel fork still here, because if you've been following my channel, you'll know that I just gave up and bought a 120 millimeter travel fork, and I have a 140 millimeter travel fork. And this way, the reason I did this, I know it's kind of ridiculous, is I can play around with all these configurations pretty quickly. So if I want, I can throw the 140 on here with a 27.5 wheel and a 29-inch wheel, right? 29, I already know is going to be super slack with this fork, right? The other thing that I'm excited to try is putting the 140 millimeter travel fork on here. So what's interesting is this is a 130 millimeter travel rear, 150 millimeter travel front. But keep in mind, that's a 27.5 fork, and the wheels are 27.5. So if I put a 29er 140 millimeter fork, we're gonna be pretty close to maintaining the geometry of this bike, and then I can try to mullet this bike and see how I like having a full suspension mullet. It'll be kind of fun to try, and of course none of the colors will match, but that's not what it's about. It's about experimenting and seeing what it rides like. So I'm pretty stoked to have all this stuff now, and come spring I can start playing around with things and experimenting. And I do believe I'm gonna order a box Prime 9 and try that out also. So this will be either single speed or box Prime 9, so I can try different things out. I'm gonna do all kinds of experiments with this bike. That's the whole purpose of it. I have my titanium one pretty much set up the way I like it, and I will race that, and that's my primary riding bike, and this is my experimental bike, and that's also my primary riding bike. So lots of bikes. So cool. I'm pretty stoked about this. I haven't had a project this fun in a long time. I mean, it was super cool building this bike up. I've built a few BMX bikes up that I've really loved the process of building it up, even my DWA. I love that bike, but I've never really custom built like a mountain bike like this. Just super cool. I love it. So if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. And especially if you're interested in the actual riding experience on these different configurations I'm going to try. If you subscribe, you'll get me in your feed. Cool. I appreciate your support for my channel. I really do. I'm super stoked on it. Peace.